Good day, everyone. Today, we are going to talk about high-quality assessment components. So what is high-quality assessment? High-quality assessment allows students to use assessment data to make choices about their areas of concentration and focus. It produces valid and reliable results. It offers connections to standards-based instructional resources. It provides structured assessments as well as flexible classroom assessment capabilities. And it generates meaningful and actionable insights. So these are the following features of a high-quality assessment. First, we have flexibility, validity, reliability, variety, and insight. So what is flexibility? Flexibility in educator choice based on their goals and needs. To use either fixed format or computer adaptive assessment. In educator construction and customization with comprehensive item banks. For students, to engage in an assessment experience that accurately reflects their understanding by utilizing adaptive technology. In purpose, with the capability to either evaluate a student's individual growth or compare against national standards. Next is validity, in that it produces data that accurately reflects what an educator is looking to test. At the form and item level, each question should measure the skill or standard to which it correlates in its content and its design. It can be proven and backed by research and experts. It is the result of rigorous evaluation. Reliability, in other words, if a student takes this test again and again, does the assessment system produce consistent results? That can be proven by methodical and through research and testing to see how our researchers test for assessment, validity, and reliability. Variety in item types that allow many opportunities for students to display their knowledge in item difficulty and subject range, and the type of thinking that an item demands that can accurately correspond to the skill or knowledge that teachers are trying to evaluate. Lastly, we have the insight. In other words, student data that is actionable, that empowers educators to understand students in their learning styles, pace, unique skills, and needs, and to become more effective. They can be used to inform instruction, pedagogy, and further assessment. That is accessible to all stakeholders, including parents and students. So these are the high-quality components. We have clear purpose, clear and appropriate targets, appropriate methods, adequate sampling, and objectivity.
Good day, everyone. This is me, Alan Grace of Group 2, and we do want to discuss about the clear purpose of high-quality assessment, which is the first component. Assessment processes and results serve clear and appropriate purposes. We have here the competencies. Identify the key users of classroom assessment information and know what the information needs are. Understand formative and summative assessment uses and know when to use each. So, for your information, the formative assessment is to monitor the students' learning and provide ongoing feedback to staff, teachers, and students. Formative assessment is also known as for learning, and examples of formative assessment is the quizzes, assignments, reflections, and group work. While on the other hand, summative assessment is to evaluate the students' learning at the end of the instructional unit by comparing it at some benchmarks. Summative assessment is often have the high stakes that and are treated by students as priority over formative assessment. And examples of summative assessment is the final reports, final presentations, and final projects. So let's proceed to the other slide. We have here the clear purpose and high quality assessment is to provide the following. We have here 10, and this is based on my research. So we have here the standard-based assessment. This assessment is carefully connected to the learning standards district state has adopted. It provides meaningful insight on uh, students' learning. While the balance, it is a useful assessment which has series of quizzes and informal check-ins throughout the learning process. While the valid, this assessment should be designed by the true experts. Who are the true experts? These are the teachers or instructors. This is to ensure that the questions are well written and has assessed for accuracy. While we have here the flexible. High quality assessment provides multiple ways to demonstrate skills, offering students choice, empowering, and gives them a chance opportunity to shine. While the informative assessment offers useful information about what student must have to improve or work on. This can be used to design further instruction to shore up weaknesses as required. This measures the effectiveness of the said assessment. So, we have here the number 6, assessment drives instruction. So, at this point, a pre-test or need assessment informs instructors what students know and do not know at all at the outset or setting of the direction of a course. The information gathered will highlight the gap between existing uh, knowledge and desired outcome. If the instructors will use the uh, prior knowledge as the stepping off place to developing understanding, and they will check into the students throughout instructions constantly to refine and revise their teaching to meet the students' diverse needs. And here we have the assessment drives learning. So at this point, students' learn depends a major on how they will be assessed. And at this point also, the instructors must send right signals to students about what to study, how to study, and the relative time to spend on the concept of skills about the course. And at this point also, the instructors must completely communicate clearly with students what need to know and to be able to do through a clearly articulated syllabus or by choosing assessment carefully in order to direct energies. And then at the end of the instruction, high expectations for learning result into students who rise on this occasion. Well, we have here the assessment informs students of their learning progress. So we all know that effective assessment provides students with a sense of what they know and don't know about a subject. If done well, the feedback provided to students will indicate to them how to improve their performance. Assessment must clearly match the content, the nature of thinking, and the skills taught in a class. Through feedback from this instruction, students become aware of their strengths, their challenges with respect to course learning outcomes. At this assessment, it shouldn't be a surprise to the students, and assessment informs practice. So at this assessment, it is more likely on reflection. Reflection on students' accomplishment offers instructors insight on the effectiveness of their teaching strategies. By systematically gathering, analyzing, and interpreting evidences, we can determine how well students' learning matches our outcomes, expectations for a lessons, and unit course. The knowledge from feedback or from the feedback indicates to the instructor how to improve their instruction. where to strengthen teaching, and what areas are well understood and therefore may be cut back in the future outcomes. Future courses. So we have here the last one, the rule of grading assessment. Grades should be a reflection of what student has learned as defined in the student um, learning outcomes. They should be based on direct evidence of a student's learning on measures, on tests, projects, and presentations, and as well as the performance task. Grades often fail to tell us as clearly about large learning, such as critical thinking, problem-solving abilities, communication skills. It may be written, oral, listening, and social skills, and emotional management skills. So that would be all for the clear purpose. And there's one more thing, that the central purpose of high quality assessment is to improve the students' learning. So I hope you'll learn something about the discussion, and God bless. Thank you very much.
Good day everyone, I am Angela Pauline Lumpon and I am here to report about clear and appropriate targets. Assessment can be made precise, accurate, and dependable only if what are to be achieved are clearly stated and feasible. There are different types of learning targets depending on the domain in focus. Manzano and Kendall 1996, as cited by Buendicho 2010, cited 5 types of learning targets. We have knowledge and simple understanding, deep understanding and reasoning, skills, products, and affectives. Okay, so let's now proceed to the first one. We have knowledge, understanding, and reasoning, which falls under the cognitive targets. In the 1950s, Bloom and his associate proposed a taxonomy in the cognitive domain with 6 levels of complexity, starting from the knowledge level at the base and evaluation level at the top. Level 1 is knowledge, or the acquisition of facts, theories, and concepts. Level 2 is comprehension, which refers to understanding and awareness of the interrelationship of things. Level 3 is application, or the transfer of concepts and principles to a new field or situation. Level 4 is analysis, which involves breaking down the whole concept of an idea to parts that constitute it. Level 5 is synthesis, which requires students to put various components together to make a new whole. Lastly, we have Level 6, evaluation, which requires students to make value judgment or to put worth in a concept or an idea. Next, we have skills, competencies, and abilities, which falls under the psychomotor targets. Simpson 1972 mentioned that the psychomotor domain involves physical movement and motor skill coordination. There are 7 categories under the psychomotor domain, listed from the simplest to the most complex. First, we have perception, or the ability to use sensory cues to guide motor activity. Second, we have set, or the readiness to act. Third, we have guided response, which is the early stage in learning a complex skill. That include imitation and trial and error. Fourth, we have mechanism, which is the intermediate stage in learning a complex skill. Learned responses has become habitual, characterized by the individual's confidence and proficiency. Fifth, we have overt response, which refers to the proficiency indicated by an accurate and highly coordinated performance. Sixth, we have adaptation, where the learner can do modification of movement patterns. And seventh, we have origination, or the creation of new movement patterns to solve a particular problem. And now we'll move on to products, outputs, and project targets. This refers to the tangible and concrete evidence of students' ability. And then we have affective targets. This domain focuses on the manner in which students deal with things emotionally. There are 5 categories listed under this domain. We have first, receiving or attending to new information. Second, responding or interacting with the new information. Third, valuing or seeing the worth of the new information. Fourth, organizing or deciding how the new information makes sense for you. And fifth, we have characterizing or exhibiting new behavior, attitude, or belief. And that covers my topic for today. Thank you for listening.
The wide variety of assessment methods that can be used poses an advantage and a difficulty for teachers. Thus, it is very important that the desired learning targets are clearly set to enable an appropriate selection of assessment method from many options to choose from. Good day everyone, I am Cherry P. Pagompong, and in this video I'm going to report about the appropriate methods that teachers can use in assessing the students' learning. So without further ado, let's start. As you can see in the screen, there are 5 general categories in assessing the students' learning. They are written response instruments, product reading skills, performance tests, oral questioning, and observation and self-reports. I am going to discuss them one by one, so listen very carefully. Let's start with the written response instruments. Written response instruments include both objective and non-objective tests, in which answers are given in writing. The questions may be given orally or in writing. So under written response instruments, there are 2 kinds of tests, right? The objective test and the non-objective test. So let's tackle first, what is an objective test? An objective test are versatile forms of tests known for utilizing single words, phrases, numbers, letters, and other symbols as responses, which are then compared to a known answer key. These tests are appropriate for various levels in the taxonomy of learning objectives. The examples of objective tests are the following: recall or supply types such as simple recall, fill in the blanks, identification, labeling, and enumeration, wherein answers are supplied by the test taker. Recognition or selection types such as alternative response, multiple choice, multiple response, and matching, wherein answers are chosen from the given options. Rearrangement of items, wherein jumbled words or pictures are to be arranged in a given order. This may also fall under the selection type. The advantages of objective examination include measurement is more extensive because more items are included in the test. Handicaps do not adversely affect the ability to make a reply. Measurement is not subjective, and these are better prepared because of more extensive principles in task construction compared to easy tasks. However, objective examinations also have cons. The following are the disadvantages of objective examinations. Objective examinations are prone to cheating. Certain subjects are not open to objective tests. Generally, measure factual knowledge but can be constructed in such a way that they can measure higher order thinking skills or HOTS. And lastly, objective examinations are hard to prepare. Let's proceed to non-objective tests. Non-objective tests, such as essays, are also useful assessment methods, especially if properly planned. Teachers who are more adept at their use reserve easy tests for assessment of higher order thinking, such as in discussing, comparing, explaining, analyzing, or even criticizing a particular subject. Nonetheless, an easy question can be a simple recall question, such as the question, "What are the tools used in oil painting?" Or it can also be a simple answer question, such as the question, "Define nail care," or "Identify the four conditions of a good waste pipe installation." However, as emphasized, easy questions should generally be reserved for measuring higher order thinking. If we are going to measure the achievement of knowledge or comprehension objective tests, the test I've mentioned a while ago, might be more appropriate. For higher order thinking, easy questions are usually art discussion type, such as the question, "Explain the process of steaming fish." Non-objective tasks or easy tasks also possess certain advantages and disadvantages. The following are the advantages of easy tasks. Easy to prepare, can be used in any subject, can measure each OTS or higher order thinking skills. It is harder to cheat on easy tests, and it allows the student to organize their thoughts and ideas logically. The drawbacks are the following: difficult in scoring, hard to establish validity and reliability, usually not well prepared. Handicaps may adversely affect the student's performance in an easy test. Now let's proceed to the next general category, the product rating scales. Projects, products, and outputs are usually graded using a product rating scale. A product rating scale refers to an instrument wherein a product is assessed on some specified variable with a number of items, each of these items representing a range of categories between two extremes. For example, 5 means highest degree, 1 less degree. The product or output of the student is then evaluated based on each item, in which the teacher or individuals responding to each item place a mark to indicate their perception. The next general category is the performance test. Two of the commonly used instruments in evaluating performance are the rating scale and checklist. A performance rating scale, such as a rubric, is defined as an instrument that records the degree and progression of performance. Here is an example of a rating scale. The second most commonly used instrument in evaluating performance is the checklist. A checklist is a list of behavior that makes up a performance. This instrument contains description of the ideal performance situations with yes or no responses for each level. And this is the example of a checklist. The next general category is oral questioning. Oral questioning, in its simplest definition, is an examination in which a student is asked to answer questions in the presence of her or his classmates or other people. Santos pointed out oral questioning is an appropriate assessment method when the objectives are to assess the student's stock knowledge and to assess the ability of the student to communicate his ideas in an organized manner. Oral questioning also have pros and cons. The following are the pros of oral questioning. Can be used in any grade or year level. The difficulty of questions can be adjusted, can be used for diagnostic purposes, and can be used in any subject. The cons of oral questionings are subjective marking, prone to being unfair since the difficulty of questions may vary from one student to another, takes a lot of time before every student's knowledge is measured, and results cannot be used for comparison purposes. And now let's proceed to the last general category: observation and self-reports. Observation and self-reports are supplementary assessment method for painting a more accurate picture of students' performance. Observation, such as informal observations, is particularly useful when we want to assess students' attitudes, since authentic behavior is usually seen when students are unaware that they are being assessed. However, as noted, this should only supplement objective examinations, and it is important to avoid deceit in assessing students. A device in the form of a tally sheet can be used to record observations, such as frequency of students' behavior, activities, and remarks. Aside from observation, self-report is also a useful assessment method since they directly come from students themselves. Self-reports utilize checklists which are composed of a list of several characteristics or activities presented to the subject of a study. The students are asked to read through this list and understand what it means. Then individuals are asked to rate themselves using a specified scale. Here is an example of a self-report checklist. And here is a guide to score each personality trait. And I think that's it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you understand the discussion. Thank you, and God bless.
Objectivity. Objectivity is also referred to as rater reliability. It is important characteristic of a good test. It affects both validity and reliability of test scores. According to C.V. Good 1973, defines objectivity in testing as the extent which the instrument is free from personal error or personal bias, that is, subjectivity on the part of the scorer. Another definition from Granlund and Lin, 1995, states objectivity of a test refers to the degree to which equally competent scores obtain the same values. In this context, there are two aspects of objectivity which should be kept in our mind while constructing a test. First is objectivity in scoring. Second is objectivity of test items. Objectivity in scoring means same person or different persons scoring the test at any time arrives at the same result without any chance of error. A test to be objective must necessarily so worded that only correct answer can be given to it. In other words, the personal judgment of the individual who scored the answer script should not be a factor affecting the test scores, so that the result of a test can be obtained in a simple and precise manner. If the scoring procedure is objective, the scoring procedure should be such that there should be no doubt as to whether an item is right or wrong, partly right or partly wrong. Second is objectivity of test scores. By item objectivity, we mean that the item must call for a definite single answer. Well-constructed test items should lead themselves to one and only one interpretation by students who know the material involved. It means the test item should free from ambiguity. Dual meaning sentences, items having more than one correct answer, should not be included in the test as it makes the test subjective. What are the purposes of objectivity? First is to avoid bias. Second is to ensure accurate conclusions or results. And lastly, to ensure outcomes purely based on facts. Here are the characteristics of objectivity. It is based on scientific facts rather than one's opinion. Factual, free from personal bias.
Judgment is based on observable phenomena and influenced by emotions or personal prejudice. Being objective is to be or do something that is not primarily about oneself but for the world itself. Has multidimensional viewing. Its results and data are based on continuous testing, then demonstrated or confirmed by a third party.